Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. Initially, I was going to make this, two videos as opposed to one combined. One video was going to be about the Iowa Hawkeyes defeat over the Minnesota Golden Gophers and kind of going over Iowa's NCAA tournament projections and where they're likely headed and what seed and things like that. And then the second video was going to be about Brian Ferentz and his contract. So I'm going to combine the both of them. And without further ado, let's just get into this. So first things first, Iowa basketball. Iowa is squarely in the NCAA tournament. If the NCAA tournament were to start today, they would absolutely be in. There's a good, you know what? I'm just going to pull it up. There's a good site called Bracket Matrix that basically shows each NCAA tournament team and each site like ESPN, CBS, and things like that, the seed, the projected seed for that team. So if we look at the Iowa Hawkeyes, Iowa's average seed would come down as a 7 seed. They're actually 6 here. I got to zoom in. It's actually harder than you think to see it. 6.93 it looks like is their average seed. Yep, 6.93. And they are in every NCAA, every prognostication has Iowa making the NCAA tournament. I would say the most consistent, I'll just go ahead and scroll it down. Iowa obviously is right here. The most consistent, and you guys can go and check this yourselves, numbers that Iowa is projected is, I would say 6 and 7, 6, 7, and 8. They're anywhere from 6 to 8. And I would even go a step further to say 6 or 7. There's some places that have them as a 5 seed. And I believe there might even be 1 or 2 that have them as a, no, they do not. I was going to say, I think there might be 1 or 2 places that have them as a 4 seed, but that's not true. So I said this last week. The highest that I thought Iowa could go would be a 5 seed. I actually will bump that up to a 4 seed. I believe that if Iowa were to win out the rest of their games and have some success in the Big Ten tournament, or they wouldn't even necessarily have to win out. They would just have to win almost all of the rest of their games and, win a couple of high profile games. Point is, it's highly unlikely, but it is possible for them to reach a 4 seed. But they would have to go on a tear in order to get up to a 4 seed. The thing is, when it comes to Iowa basketball, and I've said this for a while now, it comes down to whoever does these NCAA tournament things, what they value more. Do they value Iowa having 7 quadrant 1 victories, or net quad 1 victories? Or do they value that really one bad loss that Iowa suffered to Eastern Illinois? Or do they kind of average them both out? I mean, that's probably the answer. They probably average them both out. But me, I tend to be someone who values quality wins, especially when you have as many as Iowa does, because that to me speaks far more volumes than the one loss to that one team, because that's a blip. Whereas this, if you have 7 wins over quad 1 teams, that shows that you're a pretty high quality team, and that is more who you are than this, that one bad loss. So Iowa is in good shape. I'm going to pull up, obviously this is not, this will be updated tonight. So this is not taken into account Iowa's victory over Minnesota, but they have a net ranking of 38. I believe they beat Utah State. Maybe that was last year. Let's take a look at Ken Palm. This might be like super up to date. This may include their win over Minnesota. Yeah, I think it does. Because it has them at 16-9. They have Iowa at 33rd with the 33rd in the country, 6th best offense and 142nd best defense. Iowa's defense looked good against Minnesota, guys. You know, I feel like, you know, before the season, I said this Iowa basketball team, I predicted that this was going to be their best defensive team in a long time. Obviously, that didn't happen. I still believe they have the athletes, the length, and really the size to do so. It just hasn't happened for whatever reason. You know, I don't know, guys. I mean, Iowa obviously has won a lot of games playing this way. It's just deep down inside, I know that if they could just pick that up just a little bit, like it's the same thing as Iowa football. Like if you could just pick up the one thing a little bit, it would be so much better. But maybe this is who Iowa basketball is. I don't know, you know, but it really seems like every year, we start talking about this. We talk about it going into the season, and during the season, I start complaining about it, and then it's just the same old, same old. Like, you know, Iowa's defense at times can be good, at other times they're terrible. So I don't know. We'll see. And then even more deep down, we know that because Iowa lacks consistency, that usually that is why they lose in the NCAA tournament, because no matter how hot they are going into the tournament, all it takes is one game for their defense to be absolutely terrible, and they're out of the NCAA tournament. Chris Murray had 28 points, Philip Rebracha 16 points, Tony Perkins 7 points. So it was basically a Chris Murray and Philip Rebracha game. So that is that. Here are the team stats. See, like, again, Iowa allowed. Now they shot 30 more shots than Minnesota did because Iowa was able to turn Minnesota over a lot. And Iowa had very few turnovers. But Minnesota still shot 50% from the floor. Like that just is not, it's not good, guys. Like you should be shooting, you should be hoping that you only give up like max 48% from the field. You know, anything below that and you're defending pretty well. You know, 40, if you can get to 47, and in my opinion, anywhere from 45 to 47%, you're in solid position to win the game. But anyways, Iowa picks up the victory. They're 16-9 on the season, squarely in the NCAA tournament. Let's look at who they have coming up. They got Ohio State. That's a big game. Quite frankly, guys, they have a lot of resume building games on the schedule. Ohio State is not playing their best basketball, but I believe it'll still be a quad 2 game. Northwestern, I'll have to check and see where they're at. Wisconsin should be a quad 2 or quad 1 game. Michigan State should be a quad 2, quad 1 game. Indiana should be a quad 2, quad 1 game. So a lot of opportunity is still there on the bone. All right, guys, moving on here. Brian Ferentz. So, you know, there was the whole the Iowa coaching staff met with the media for the first time in a long time, and it was basically announced that there were going to be no changes to the Iowa football coaching staff, which is what I told you guys. I told you guys many times to not allow the Iowa media to get your hopes up, because year in, year out, the Iowa media will try and get your hopes up about the offense, about coaching changes, about, and it just ends up not being true. And they have to do it because, they're so limited to what they can talk about when it comes to Iowa football. But I was honest with you guys and said that it wasn't going to happen. So I wasn't surprised by that. And as I said, if Iowa was going to make a change, they would have made it immediately after the season. They would have made it. Hell, they may have even made it before the Kentucky game. But they didn't do that, which showed was proof positive that they were digging their heels in with Brian Ferentz. Then after, the media, the coaching staff meets with the media, and, there's a ton of outrage. There's a ton of pushback, especially nationally when it comes to Brian Ferentz. Information comes out that Brian Ferentz has been given this reduction in contract numbers, whatever. In other words, just to sum it up, he lost $50,000 from the $900,000 he was making to be one of the. Can you guys imagine? Like, seriously, the numbers he put up, I really think that most average individuals could go out there and put up the same numbers as him. That amount of money is insane to be as bad as what Brian Ferentz has been. And I'm not even the biggest Brian Ferentz hater out there. I'm really not. Those of you who watch me a lot know that that's the case. I will defend him in any way I can. Like I always say, he's a pretty good recruiter. Outside of when the allegations came out, I've said that he's a good offensive line coach. He's a good tight ends coach. He's just not a good offensive coordinator. He calls plays on offense like I would expect an offensive lineman to call plays. Very clunky, not smooth, not imaginative, no rhyme or reason type of stuff. But so he has a contract reduction and he loses $50,000, and there are incentives in there. And the main incentive is that if Iowa's offense can average 25 points a game this upcoming year, he will then get his $50,000 back and basically make more money. That's pretty much it. And then the other aspect to it is if he doesn't reach the 25 points a game, he's basically done. According to his contract is going to be severed. Now, of course, we all know that we all know that Iowa and Gary Barta and all of them can do a bunch of tomfoolery to make to fix whatever. If they want to keep Brian Ferentz, they're going to keep Brian Ferentz. If Brian Ferentz doesn't, and the Iowa offense doesn't average 25 points a game next year, and Kirk Ferentz and Gary Barta still want to keep Brian Ferentz, they'll find a way to do it. But I'm just giving you guys the facts of where it currently stands. My opinion, aside from the facts, is that, as I already said, if they want to keep Brian Ferentz, they will find a way to do so regardless of this new contract, okay? Or whatever. So here we are, guys. I just, I wish I could have reacted to this sooner. I've been very, very, very busy. By the way, if you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. If you guys want to donate and support your boy, you absolutely can. Everybody who has made donations, they are much appreciated. I am so grateful for all of your assistance. My thoughts on it are I kind of already alluded to it, but it just goes to show how minimal the expectations are for Brian. And yes, he is getting away with stuff that 99% of coaches would never get away with. If Brian Ferentz didn't, here's the perfect question. If Brian Ferentz forget about the 99% of other coaches, okay? If Brian Ferentz didn't have the last name Brian Ferentz, like let's just say Brian Ferentz's name was Nolan Hawkeye Anthony, and I put up the same numbers that we have seen over the past 2 years specifically, do you think Kirk Ferentz would keep Nolan Hawkeye Anthony? I think the answer is a resounding no. Excuse me, which goes to show that, yes, there is nepotism here. Now, as I've said in the past, the whole nepotism thing is not the end all be all to me. This is America, folks. Like, you know, people in positions of power and you know, who have done great things are afforded certain privileges that the rest of us are not. Okay. But, you know, it still is. Like, if you're going to ask me to talk about it, I'm still going to say that it is. My biggest thing is, just as a fan of Iowa Hawkeye football, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And furthermore, I cannot stand seeing some Iowa fans who are just like loyal to the point of lunacy. Like, I will see Iowa fans who will push back against some of these opinion pieces and things like that, and basically say things like, no matter what, I'm still a Hawkeye, like Hawks for life, like I love Iowa. And it's like, yeah, we all do. Like, we all do. Okay. But you doing that is I would argue, like, you think you're doing good by supporting the team no matter what. But in reality, I would say that in a time like this, that's the worst thing you could do, because the only way for your program to be what your program should be is by being honest as a fan with what you agree with and what you don't. At the end of the day, it's your money that you're putting into this program. And I would never tell you what to do with it. But I just, like, sometimes, especially when some of the fans will like try and make me feel bad, or some other Hawkeye fans who are critical of Iowa's decision to basically baby rap Brian Ferentz. That is the most annoying thing in the world, because it's like, you really think you're a better Hawkeye fan than me just because you're saying you're loyal to Iowa for their decision to keep Brian Ferentz? Like, that's just silly. So now I'm not going to harp on it too much, because I do understand it. And there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of love and support and adoration and all of those great words that are involved with this. But folks, if you are like that, like, there's nothing wrong with just being honest about what's going on with this Iowa football program. And in the end, to me, if Iowa didn't have the defense and the special teams that they had, I probably wouldn't care that much. But because they do have the defense and the special teams that they have, and they have you know, the talent they have, and they have the resources that they have, it's like, this is the perfect time for Iowa to reach the peak of what they can reach. And it's so doable. Like, that's the thing. It's so doable. Like, nobody is asking Brian Ferentz to be a top 25 offensive coordinator. Like, all we're asking is for a top 75 offensive play caller. That's it. So that is the thing that does it for me, in just being brutally honest about this. But folks, I knew this was going to be the case. You know, Brian Ferentz is being protected yet again. This is just a ploy to quiet the fires that are emerging towards Kirk Ferentz and Gary Barta and the Iowa athletic department. But make no mistake, if you took even a moment to look at the national stories after the information came out about Brian Ferentz with regards to his contract, you would know that the national perception is laughable when it comes to Iowa. Like to everybody else who is unbiased when it comes to the Iowa football program, it is so obvious that they need to just move on from Brian Ferentz. Like, it's so obvious. So, and that is the other part of this that is just too bad, because for everybody else who has no dog in the fight, they see it as hurting Kirk Ferentz's legacy, and also just a no-brainer to get rid of Brian Ferentz. But to us, because we're insulated in our love and support for the Iowa Hawkeyes, obviously we see it a bit differently. So, yeah, this is crazy. This is going to be the most anticipated season when it comes to the Iowa Hawkeyes in a while. Brian Ferentz is going to have the heat on him from day one. And we'll see what happens. I hope he's successful. I do, because if he's successful, that means the Iowa football. I'm not hoping that Brian Ferentz fails. I want him to be successful. But, only time will tell what is going to happen with that. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, donate if you guys want to, support your boy's coffee habit. Last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow on facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. And of course, go Hawks.